Rivalries. I thought today I'd do something different. California. You got LA, Anaheim, and San Jose. And you would think the California being so chill, and you got all the surf and sand and the sun, and it's nice and it's warm, and you'd think everybody in California is going to get along with each other. These three fan bases are just going to be the most friendly, and you'll have San Jose fans can cheer for LA and they can cheer for Anaheim. You can cheer for all three. It's fun. No, nah. Having been down in Anaheim, there are some very distinct battle lines drawn between LA and Anaheim, even though they're right next to each other, and San Jose definitely, that city up north. And it is interesting. It is interesting to have been down there and to have talked to fans of all three. Now, of course, the Kings are the first one there in 1967, and there's times where the organization's limping its way through, and then this guy 99 ends up there. Anaheim gets into the picture through a Mighty Ducks movie, and San Jose kind of capitalizes on the interest that hockey had in California after 99 went down. So, you can argue, without Gretzky playing for the Kings, Disney doesn't make the Mighty Ducks movie, we don't get a Ducks team, and San Jose probably doesn't get an expansion team as well. You can make that argument. Now, when we look at these teams against each other, it's not a huge playoff history between these franchises, although San Jose and LA know each other pretty well, and I'm guessing they don't like each other very much. And I'm saying guessing because I've talked to them, and yeah. So 2014 is the only time LA and Anaheim meet up and have the freeway face-off as it was coined in 2007. There were a few different options. They had a vote, and fans said, yeah, freeway face-off is the least egregious of these names. Freezeway was one of the other ones, too. Freezeway face-off or something like Freezeway. Anyway, you get it? Because ice. Regular season, Anaheim does very well against the LA Kings. They're 69, 48, 11, and 16. And I believe that's the record before this season. And so, again, that's regular season. But in 2014, they met in round 2. And in round 2... the LA Kings, who were underdogs in that series, when you look at the seeding, they knock off the home team Anaheim Ducks. And it's interesting how it happens. So the Kings win 3-2 in overtime. It's Gaborik with the game winner in game 1 in that one. Then they win 3-2 in game 2. So they come out of Anaheim with a 2-0 series lead. Anaheim wins game 3 in LA, and then they win game 4 in LA. Gibson makes 28 saves and a shutout in that one. So in game 5... Anaheim goes home and they win 4-3. So Anaheim loses the first 2, they win the next 3. Huge momentum swings between these California teams. They happen. I know San Jose fans are like, you're not going to... Oh, he's going to talk about it. Yes, I am. And then LA wins games 6 and 7. They win 2-1 and 6-2, respectively. Gibson ends up getting pulled, and Jonas Hiller goes in the net for the Ducks as well. And it doesn't matter. 6-2. So... that's the one meeting these teams have had. It was in round 2. And it's great for travel. Even though the highway traffic is miserable in that part of the country. It's a lot easier than going to, say, New York or even, I would say, even Arizona. The Anaheim-LA series, we'd like to see it again. But with where the franchises are right now, we probably won't see it for a while. So San Jose and LA is the big one. San Jose and LA is the big one. They met the first time in 2011 in round 1. San Jose had home ice in that one. They won the series in 6. What's interesting is that's when they had Antti Niemi and they had Antero Niittymaki as the backup. Now, Jonathan Quick ends up taking the loss in that series. And what was interesting going into that was Antti Niemi ends up leaving Chicago. They had some cap problems after the 2010 win, and Niemi's one of the guys who goes. Now, Niemi had this air about him in 2011 because they said, well, he's never lost a series. And I thought, well, yeah, but he didn't exactly win the series for Chicago. Like, he was good in 2010, but he wasn't, like, over-the-top great in 2010. So this whole he never lost a series thing definitely picked up some momentum after they won in round 1 against the LA Kings. And then, of course, he would eventually lose a series, and all of that mystique was gone. So 2013, they meet again, but Antti Niemi's the goaltender of record for the San Jose Sharks. This time, Jonathan Quick is not going to be denied. They win in 7, and Quick comes up with 2 shutouts along the way in that 2013, and again in round 2 matchup. Well, this one's round 1, this one's round 2. So that's the only time they've met in round 2. All the other meetings are in round 1. and LA wins that one. Now LA wins again a year later in round 1, and this is in 7, and this is where San Jose had home ice advantage. LA's not concerned with that. LA, I still think, is a better team as an underdog than they are as a favorite. It's part of the reason why in 2018 I took them to knock off Vegas in round 1. I figured with their experience, and I figured they were underdogs, and then no, that's not how that worked out. But what happens here is, of course, that 2014, are you serious? And I had the same reaction as everybody else to this series, which was, is this really happening? So the San Jose Sharks had a 3-0 series lead, and then the LA Kings won 4 in a row. And it is the first 3-0 comeback since Philadelphia did it to Boston. You had 1942, Toronto did it to Detroit, and 1975, the New York Islanders did it to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And of course, in 2010, Philadelphia did it to Boston. So 3-0 comebacks are rare, but they do happen, and LA made it happen, and then they'd go on to win a Stanley Cup in 2014. So 2016, the last meeting between these two franchises, the San Jose Sharks kind of made it look easy in the end. They end up winning it in 5. It is the least amount of games needed in any series between these teams. Martin Jones, formerly a backup goaltender for the LA Kings, the student becomes the master, you might say, as he helps San Jose knock out Quick. And Jones had a really good series in that one as well. So San Jose's goaltending changes a bit throughout, and yet it's Jonathan Quick throughout for the LA Kings, as he's been the LA Kings goaltender for approximately a decade's time. And that's where these series all lie. 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016. And this is how hate happens. And this is kind of how the NHL likes things to look. They like the idea of rivals meeting year after year. It definitely, I think it helps ticket sales. I think it makes the games more interesting. It definitely makes them more emotional. Because familiarity breeds contempt, especially in physical sports like football, hockey, golf. You know, these kinds of really physical sports. So this is definitely the greatest rivalry on the board. And yet Anaheim and San Jose, there's some dislike between those two as well. 2009 they met, so this was the first all-California matchup. Because 2011 these two meet, 2014 these two meet. So 2009 Anaheim, the number 8 seed knocks out the number 1 seeded San Jose Sharks. Jonas Hiller over Evgeny Nabokov. So 4-2 series win. And it's interesting because San Jose on this board, they're 4-4 in the playoffs against teams from California. But when you look at the regular season record, against the Ducks, they're 78, 58, 4-10. And against the Kings, they're 82, 57, 7-11. So regular season-wise, San Jose does very well against the other California teams. And yet, here we are, Hiller and the Ducks upsetting the Sharks in the first round. 2018, they meet in the first round again. And San Jose, I'm not saying they remember, but they just might. And they sweep aside the Anaheim Ducks. Jones over Gibson in that one. Of course, they go on, and then in round 2, they meet the Vegas Golden Knights in what would be a pretty solid series in 2018. The Ducks had a 1-0 lead in Game 2. The reason that's on the board is because that's the only lead they had in the entire series. I went over the box scores a few times because I'm kind of tired today. So I went over the box scores a few times, and yeah, the only lead they had was a 1-0 lead in Game 2. That's it. And it reminded me of the sweep Boston had over Montreal, where there was almost no leads for Montreal whatsoever in that entire series. And it's that kind of domination that's really, really impressive. And yet San Jose loses in round 2. So does it say more about how poor Anaheim is? Does it say more about how good San Jose was in that series? Or does it tell you just how good Vegas was in that 2018 run? Right? It's all up to you guys to decide. The interesting thing with all of this is that the LA Kings, they're finalists in 1993, which is the year that the Ducks come into the league, 2 years after San Jose comes in. They win the Stanley Cup in 2012. 2012, they did not play against anybody in California. 2014, they won the Cup, and they went through both of the other California teams to get there. Round 1 and 2, they were playing in California. Does that help them? I mean, they were both 7-game series, but does that help them because their travel schedule wasn't really that bad before going to that conference final in 2014? Who knows? So yeah, LA's got the 2 cups and the finalists. The Anaheim Ducks were finalists in 2003, and they won the Cup in 2007. And for San Jose, they were finalists in 2016. They're the last one to reach the finals, and they're the only team in California without a Stanley Cup. So LA can say we've got 2, Anaheim can say we've got 1, and San Jose can say, you know, our jerseys are really nice. We've got this great logo. I don't know if you've seen Joe Thornton shaved off his beard. That's pretty cool. Stanley Cup? Yeah. So we'll see if San Jose gets onto the board with a cup at some point. They're definitely going into what feels like a rebuild. We'll see if it's a retool or a rebuild. And when will the next time be that we see 2 California teams against each other again? Because like I said, there is definitely a feud there. And I feel like, you know, we've seen that with these teams. I feel like if we get another LA and Anaheim, and if there's some kind of a playoff series, maybe they meet each other 2 years in a row in the playoffs, we could see like a Vegas San Jose level rivalry develop out of it in the playoffs. I'm not saying the intensity's not there in the regular season. It is. One thing that I noticed before I had a channel and before I was staying up to watch all the California games, because they were usually on starting at 7:30 at night. They wouldn't be over till like 10 my time. And it was just, you know, I had to get up to go to work for 4 in the morning, so I usually didn't watch the California games. But when I did, I noticed the hate is always there, and it didn't matter which 2 of these teams you paired off against each other. They just hated each other. So I respect that. I respect the hate these teams have for each other, and the fact that even if both teams aren't any good, so if you have Anaheim and LA and they're both, you know, way out of the playoffs and they're not doing very well, if you watch that game and you just ignore the standings, it's usually a pretty darn good game, and it's usually pretty intense. And yeah, all 3 of these teams have had some pretty physical big teams over the years. Not necessarily where they're at right now, but that Ducks team that won the Cup in 2007, that was an intimidating team. So yeah, I do like this 3-way rivalry, if you want to call it that. I thought it would be fun to look at it from a point of view of 3 different franchises. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And again, you know, the question with California right now is, so with all of them on a downbeat this year, which one bounces back next year? For me, it's probably LA. Probably LA will be the first one to bounce back. Whether that means playoffs or not, I don't know, because we haven't done the draft, free agency, or any of that yet, so I have no idea. But you know, I'm anxious to see these teams against each other again, because now that I've been down in California, it would be really fun during a playoff series between 2 of these teams to go down to California and just witness that firsthand, even if it's just outside the building, because I can't afford tickets to a playoff game or something like that. Whatever it is, I think it would be fun to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a lot. I will talk to you again soon.